Alright, this is Grade 5, Module 2, Lesson 24, where students are going to be dividing decimal dividends, meaning the number that's being divided will have some sort of decimal, and it's going to be divided by some sort of multiple of 10. And then we're going to use number sense, or reasoning, to figure out where that decimal goes. Ultimately, students are going to be learning the standard algorithm. Alright, so in this first example, it says divide and show the division in this right column, meaning this problem over here, in 2 steps, using 2 steps. Alright, so let's take a look at problem A first. Now A says, okay, we've got 1.8 divided by 6. Now they happen to already tell us the answer is 0.3, but let's figure out how we got that. Well, we know that 1.8, 1 itself, in this kind of the way we're going to think about it, is cannot be divided into 6 separate groups. All right, so we kind of go to the next place value and we look at it in its entirety, 18, and we think of this as 18 tenths. Now 18 tenths can be divided into 6 separate piles or 6 groups, and that equals 3 tenths. So we know that 1.8 divided by 6 is equal to 0.3, or 3 tenths. So that's where we get the answer 0.3. Now, question B, they've kind of walked us through it already, but I noticed that in the homework they do it one way, but in the class notes they do it a different way. So I want to show you how to do it in the way they did it in the class notes and the student samples. All right, it's clearly a typo, and hopefully they'll update it in the next version. So what they do is they start with 1.8 divided by 60, but then they divide by the power of 10 first. So that's going to be 1.8 divided by 10, followed by divide by 6. And in doing that, 1.8 divided by 10, we've learned in a previous module that that is 0.18, or 18 hundredths. And then we're going to do 18 hundredths divided by 6. Now, using number sense, we've got 18 hundredths, and we're going to divide that by 6. Now, students don't have to specifically write this part out, but I do want them to think about 18 hundredths divided by 6. Well, 18 hundredths divided by 6 gives us 3 hundredths. 3 hundredths, which would be written as 0.03. So at this point, we want them to use number sense and a really deep understanding of place value in order to get the answer. Ultimately, we're going to be using the standard algorithm. All right, let's do another example. Now, I believe the student copies may have had problem L directly below problem K, like this, and that's a formatting error. Really, it should be side by side, because the directions say show the division in the right column in 2 steps. So that's a typo. All right, so now let's do this first problem, problem K. So we've got 9.45 divided by 9. So 9.45 divided by 9. Now the 9 units, or 9 ones, we can indeed divide by 9, and that equals 1. And then the 4 tenths, we cannot divide by 9 into like 9 separate groups. So we rename it, and we think of it as 45 hundredths. And 45 hundredths can be divided by 9. And so kind of on scratch paper here, 45 hundredths divided by 9 gives us 5 hundredths. 45 hundredths divided by 9 is 5 hundredths. How would we write that? We would write that as 0.05, as in 5 hundredths. So dividing by 9, 9 divided by 9 gives us that 1. 45 hundredths divided by 9 gives us this 0.05. So the full answer is 1.05, just using number sense, common sense. ultimately students are going to be using that standard algorithm. But right now we really want them to think about numbers and place value rather than just being like mechanical robots and dividing. All right, well, let's do this next one in two steps. So we've got 9.45, and we're going to divide by 100 as our multiple, or a power of 10. And then we're going to follow that up by dividing by 9. All right, so 9.45 divided by 100 from a previous module, we know that we can go straight to moving that decimal 2 places to the left, gives us 0.0945 divided by 9. And we're going to think of this number as tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So we have 945 10,000ths. And we can either divide all of that as one big number, or we can kind of break it up in that tenths, 0 tenths divided by 9 is still 0. 9 hundredths divided by 9 into 9 separate groups gives us a 1. And then right here, 45 10,000ths gives us 5 10,000ths. And so our answer is, and our last slide for this video is a word problem. So Chris rode his bike along the same route every day for 60 days. He logged that he had gone exactly 127.8 miles. And the first question is, how many miles did he bike each day? Show your work. So we know that we're going to divide. And let's see. I'm going to see if I can do it up here. So we got 127.8, and we are going to divide by 60, which means we're going to rewrite that as 127.8 divided by 10 divided by 6. All right, in doing that, this first part, we know that the answer is 12.78 because that decimal moves over one place to the left. And now 12.78 divided by 6. We can do this using logic. So first you have 12, and we're going to divide by 6. Well, 12 divided by 6 gives us 2. So we have 12 wholes divided by 6 gives us 2 wholes. There's our decimal. Now, 7 divided by 6, we could do that, and it has a leftover, but let's think of this as 78 hundredths. So over here on scratch paper, 78 hundredths divided by 6. Gives us 13 hundredths. So then we can just put the 13 right there, 13 hundredths, and so there's our answer. So each day he biked 2.13, was it miles? Yeah, miles each day. Second question, how many miles did he bike over the course of 2 weeks? So what that means is we need to do 2.13 and multiply by 14 because there's 14 days in 2 weeks. So 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. Now we're going to put a 0 here because we're really multiplying by 10. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. We add that together. And then we have a decimal here. So our answer is 29.82 miles in 2 weeks. That's how far he bikes in 2 weeks. So almost 30 miles. And that's Grade 5, Module 2, Lesson 24, where we are using number sense and reasoning to figure out where the decimal goes in our division problem.